All right, straight after the president spoke, the Azimio One Kenya released a statement in response to what the president had to say, especially on the withdrawal of the bill. Before we look at the statement from Azimio One Kenya, let's take a look at the way to withdraw a bill, or alternatively, let's take a look at what happens if a bill is referred back to Parliament. And we begin now with the first statement here, because the president made it clear that the bill has been withdrawn. So is it possible that the president can withdraw a bill? There is no place in law that makes it or gives a provision for the president to withdraw a bill. So it doesn't exist in law. A withdrawal of a bill that has gone before Parliament doesn't exist in law. So what happens if there's a lot of amendments from the president, as you will be seeing next? If there's a lot of amendments, then Parliament can decide, because you've amended this so much, the Parliament will decide to abandon that bill and begin afresh. Now let's look at the lawmaking process for you to understand what exactly happened. So the first thing is Parliament did this yesterday. Parliament passes the bill. The bill is forwarded to the president for the presidential assent. That is what he was supposed to do. Let's move on. The president was supposed to assent to that bill, so he declined to assent to it. So when he declines, within 14 days, starting yesterday, the bill will go back to Parliament. The president will refer back the bill to Parliament if in 14 days he doesn't assent to it. After referring, let's take a look at what happens next after the president refers back the bill to Parliament. If the president refers this bill back to Parliament, amend the bill in light of the president's reservation. So he sends it back with what we call a memo, asking Parliament to amend it in light of those reservations made. Then the bill will be passed a second time without the amendment. The bill can also be passed a second time without amendment. Let's move on now. If that doesn't happen, what happens next is if Parliament amends the bill fully with the proposals made by the president, considering those reservations, then appropriate speaker shall resubmit to the president that bill so amended by Parliament in consideration with the reservation of the president. And if Parliament amends the bill fully, the speaker responsible for that, whichever house, will send it back to the president now for an assent, because it shall have incorporated the views of the president. Let's move on. If that does not happen, there are other provisions in the law. And remember, we're talking about, this is Article 115 of the Constitution. So Parliament, after reconsidering the president's reservation, may pass the bill as is a second time without amendments or with amendments. So it means Parliament can decide, you know, the president has sent us all these amendments he's seeking or his reservation, but let's pass it without those considerations by a 2/3 majority of the members of the National Assembly and 2/3 of the delegation in the Senate, if they decide either to pass it with the president's amendments or not. Let's move on now. Away from that, next slide. If the president does not assent to a bill or refer it back within the period prescribed in clause 1, which is 14 days, or assents to it under 5B, the bill shall be taken to have been assented on the expiry of the period, meaning within the 14 days, if the president doesn't refer it back to Parliament or doesn't assent to it, what happens is automatically that bill becomes law at the expiry of 14 days. Now, the reason why this is important is this. It was a mischief that was created in the Constitution to ensure that if the president decides that he's not going to assent to a bill that has been sent to him from Parliament, then automatically Kenyans will not survive without a law. What happens is then the law or the bill automatically becomes law on the 14th day. This is practical whenever Parliament has the majority, the opposition has the majority, but the minority have the presidency. In our case, both the majority in Parliament and the presidency belong to one. Time now for a short break. When we come back, we'll be speaking to Willis Otieno, an advocate of the High Court, and he'll be putting this to perspective.